Hey guys, before we get into things, please subscribe to our channel and make sure you turn on notifications so you know every time we post. And also, head over to our social pages, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram so you can see clips and chat wrestling with us. But now, let's get into the video.
C2 Wrestling. What is up, guys? Back again. Myself, Snowden, CTD here. We got a little bit of a Raw review coming at you. It was a pretty good show again tonight. Wrestling again for the last little while has been pretty great week to week. Another weekly show that was pretty good. I don't want to say it's top tier, but I have nothing to complain about. I don't know
I
about
think
you.
I think this week, maybe I felt it a little bit last week, but this week felt like the smoothest Raw that was 2 hours.
Yeah, they're definitely getting better with the 2 hour slot. They're starting to treat it more like a SmackDown. I feel like we are getting the same crop of talent. We're not really missing anything. Maybe certain stuff's a little shorter. Maybe we're not getting the 20-minute, 25-minute match we might get on a 3 hour Raw every week, but wrestling does just kind of fit better in a 2 hour slot, man. I've become so accustomed to the 3 hour Raw that I'm at a point of I'm not even opposed to them going back to it for Netflix. But I really think having just like a 2 hour plus show is the key. 2 hour minimum, and you just end it wherever, whenever. Some shows.
Yeah, I would rather that with Raw, with the Netflix deal. Not that like I want the surprise of, oh, this show could end at any minute, but more so like if I'm watching and I know what the main event is, it could come at any time. It's not like I'm like, all right,
Exactly.
let's just get to the main event. Let's just get to the main event. Like add a little mystique to the show.
Yeah, and if the show's main event is starting, an hour 55 in, might be a 5 minute match, dude. It could end 2.5 in, 2:45 in. There's so much range with it. What it also does is it kind of gives a little bit more like separation to the segments prior to the main event. With this not forced cut, you can stretch out these segments in the beginning of the show, and then the main event can just end when it ends. You can still get that 45-minute main event. You don't have to cut anything short. But we'll see. 2 hour off for what, another month and a half?
Yeah, roughly. And a great
Yeah.
point by you though. Main event's the biggest thing. You're
Yeah.
not clock watching, like especially when it's a title match. You're kind of clock watching, like, all right, if the title's going to change hands, it's kind of quick right now. They're looking like 2 minutes left, blah, blah, blah. Like, who knows when the match could end? I love that.
Yeah.
But on to tonight's Raw.
Yeah. Starting off the show, we had our ring general, Gunther. This is a Stan account, guys.
Hit it.
Got to hit the pose, the Imperium pose. Out to the ring, confronted by new number one contender at Survivor Series, Damian Priest. A little bit of fun fact, you might have seen this. This is the first time in wrestling history that the SummerSlam main event was also the main event at the same year's Survivor Series. Isn't that kind of weird? Makes sense.
But it's not going to main event Survivor Series.
Or not a main event, but like it's just the rematch. The main event
Oh,
of
yeah.
SummerSlam has been the rematch of Survivor Series. I seen it right on Twitter right before we got on here. But it's like the first time that match has ever been rematched at Survivor Series, something along those lines. I kind of like it. That's good. I think it shows like good depth to the rematch clause. Again, I think we went on record saying this a week or two ago that my biggest thing with this feud is I like that it didn't happen right away. I like that they're kind of rehashing it. I feel like this puts Priest on a higher level, in my opinion.
Yeah, we always mentioned how this felt like it was going to be a Raw main event. And honestly, I saw a lot of people posting that they were ready for it to be a Raw main event, and some of them
Mm-hmm.
wanted it to be a Raw main event. I mentioned in one of our previous videos that this just feels so much bigger now than their SummerSlam match, let alone if it happened a few weeks or a rematch happened right away. That actual SummerSlam match doesn't feel anywhere near as big as this one. I'm on record. I did not love Gunther losing to Cody. I wanted Gunther to win that match. I felt like it made more sense for Gunther to win that match.
We're on record
We are
saying
on
Gunther
record.
should have on that match.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
I do like, though, the new wrinkle of his character. And that
Yeah,
has been what is coming from the loss to Cody. This hesitation, this self doubt. I mean, it happens with almost every dominant type character who all of a sudden I don't want to say have the yips, but they're now second guessing themselves. They thought they were more powerful than they really are. The one loss throws them off. They start snowballing, whatever it may be. I still fully expect Gunther to retain and probably from the help of the Judgment Day. But it is a nice little twist to the match. Last time it was they made it personal pretty quick and it was pretty solid. Now the story being like we know Priest has leveled up. We know Priest is a bigger star now than he was when they first faced. And we know Gunther is bigger, but all of a sudden he's doubting himself. And now, even though Gunther's the champion, it feels like Priest is the stronger one heading into the match. I really enjoy this new wrinkle.
Yeah, I do as well. Priest, always been a big Priest guy. I'm on record with that as well. Always have loved Priest. Where he's at right now is the best version of him we've gotten so far. I'm loving the new theme. I'm loving everything about him. And, they're starting to really come together all the way around. Sorry, I keep side eyeing this game right now. But they're really coming together with, again, themes, entrances, things like that. I think everybody I've ever seen loves the fade out, fade in of Damian Priest coming out. So we got Slayer involved with this new theme, a real band. That's what we've been asking for kind of ages, hasn't it been? So they're really treating Damian Priest, somebody who is the guy to a lot of us, but maybe he's not the Cena, the Orton, the Cody that everybody sees all the time. But they're really treating him like a star, and it's helping in this match against Gunther. I think there is a similarity to the SummerSlam match where I think we all know what's happening here. Gunther's winning the match, whenever that's Survivor Series. But again, Priest is on a whole other level. That match was definitely going one way. This is as well, but it's got such a different vibe to it.
I think Priest, you could also do, you had mentioned seeing forever ago a video of LA Knight and like the progression of the crowd reaction. He got a
Mm-hmm.
great reaction again tonight. I told you when I was at Bad Blood, like he got a loud pop. He'd be a great person for someone to go back and kind of do the progression of the crowd reactions for him because he feels going into this match, he feels like the A side. Like, look, this is a Gunther Stan account, but I think right now the cheers might be louder for Priest than the boos are for Gunther.
Yeah, they very well could be. Priest is in a spot where he's hot, maybe a little cold, maybe a little hot. I don't know. He's kind of in a weird like middle spot where he's obviously in a world heavyweight title match coming up, but like what's next for him? Are we just rehashing Judgment Day stuff? Where do you really go? I think Priest is a guy that really needs and would benefit from like a draft per se. Maybe getting on his own brand. Maybe you send over all these guys to Raw for Netflix, but maybe Priest is one of like the AJ Styles of 2015 SmackDown. Maybe he's the guy over there. He needs some separation, I think, from even Rhea at a point. Maybe you do something new with him. I just think he is one of their better acts going right now. But what do you do next? I say that a lot. I ask that about a lot of people. But what do you do next?
Well, I mean, that's the thing in wrestling. There's no off season, so you're always looking
No off
ahead.
seasons.
There's always next week, there's always the next story, and that's where we've reached with Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed, two guys that we've talked about. Well, what do you do next? We had mentioned not loving Bronson Reed losing their match in Saudi Arabia. Now we have the rematch set for next week. Love the brawl they had this week. We get the teases of Rollins being asked to join OG Bloodline for War Games, being asked to join Bloodline 2.0 for War Games. I have a theory, an Austin theory, but I want to hear your opinion first.
Mm-hmm.
Seth versus Bronson next week. I think we can assume who's going to win that match.
I think we can assume who's going to win that match. And it's the fans. Okay. It's going to be a great match. But who's going to win between the two, Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins? It's Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed is winning this match. And he has to win this match. If he doesn't, that is a mega mistake. They're not going to make it, though. I am 100% confident they have Bronson winning this match one way or another. Even if Seth were to get distracted by some new feud, who knows, whatever. Bronson's coming out victorious. It being on Raw, I'm okay with it, I guess. I would have preferred it maybe on pay-per-view, maybe with some sort of gimmick. War Games, Survivor Series. I think the entirety of Twitter X is going to be upset when they find out this is probably a 4 or 5 match pay-per-view. considering we're going to get 2 War Games matches. So I don't know if you can really fit in another gimmick match on that show with 2 of those and whatever else they're going to have going on. It's a great matchup. I still want Bronson to get more mic time. I was actually going to say that going into this Raw, that I wanted Bronson on the mic a little bit, and we did get that a little bit. It was kind of the cookie cutter, like, come out here, Rollins type, promo. It wasn't like a real promo, in my opinion, but it's still good to see. I just need more out of it at this point. I am kind of at that point. I love both these guys, but I want them to maybe get it over with and move on to the next thing, like I just saw Priest. But I'm here for it. It's going to be a great match. The Crown Jewel match was good, but Crown Jewel's kind of, we talk about it all the time. We can move on from that one. Yeah.
My fear is quite obvious, and we've talked about the repetitive booking before. I would be very annoyed. And now, look, Raw is being taped. It's probably that match might be going on right now as we speak. I'm not looking at what happened. I try to avoid things. I like to watch things pretty fresh.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be very annoyed if Solo and the Bloodline 2.0 cost Rollins that match because of Seth's comments, and that's how Rollins gets back into the field. Like they planted the seeds, and man, that would just be the shits. That
Yeah.
would not be good at all, in my opinion.
It would not be good at all. And we've talked about this very little bit, but I know we're going to agree here. I think, honestly, the best case scenario, if they're really going 5v5, is to run the storyline that, Team Roman can't find a fifth because no one wants to team with him. And they have to go in 4v5 or whatever. They go down a guy. The only 2 people that would fit the bill would be Seth, which I don't want at all. It doesn't fit the bill for me. I understand why they would tease it maybe. And then Cody. And I want Cody out of this entirely. He's also in the middle of this Owens-Orton feud. We haven't seen any confrontation between Cody and Owens after the pile driver to Orton. Who knows what's next between them? I want Cody away from this. Now, it does lead me to ask, the 5th member of each team, Solo's bloodline. Solo, Fatu, Tamatanga, Tangaloa. The Rock?
No shot.
No shot. You don't think? Who's the 5th? Hikuleo? Who else?
I texted you. I still think it's going to be Braun Breaker. I know
For
Jimmy.
Team Solo?
Yes, I know Jimmy pulled Braun aside to have a conversation with him.
Yep.
I don't see him. It makes too much sense. I saw some people saying like, "Oh, Braun should team. Sammy should try to get Braun." Do we not remember that Braun literally feuded with Jay and Sammy?
Yeah.
And he took out Jay, and they have a bad past. And on top of it, Solo technically helped him win the title back.
Yeah, it won't surprise me.
Be a big spot for him too.
Exactly. It's a big spot. It gets your Intercontinental Champion on the show. It gets Braun Breaker this kind of spotlight, War Games on the big pay-per-view. I don't want it. It just doesn't, like, the whole point of this is bloodline. Just run it 4v4. There's no point in adding in these side feuds. It's such a universe mode type thing. It's what we've said this over the years with a lot of women's tag teams and the women's War Games and stuff. It's just these random throw togethers because, they haven't really established full teams, factions, things like that. And the one time we have the most, like, well-timed, established old faction versus new faction, one old power versus the new power, we're just going to throw random people in. We're just going to put Braun Breaker and Sheamus in there or something. I don't like it at all. If we're going to do 5v5, I know this whole Hikuleo debut may never even happen at this point. But if it's not a guy like that somehow debuting, the only other choice to me is The Rock. And I know that's obviously outlandish. It doesn't seem likely. But if that's not going to happen, then you don't do it, in my opinion. Just don't do it.
Yeah, I agree. I do think, obviously, they're going to do it.
Yes.
I would prefer it to just be 4-on-4. If I had to bet right now, and like this is me just guessing, I would guess it's going to be Braun Breaker on Solo's team. And maybe we get like like a Punk for Bloodline team, something crazy. He's got the Heyman tie-in. Like he doesn't really have bad blood with any of them, if we're
Yeah.
being honest. Like it's trying to think of a big name that none of them make sense. I'm trying to think of a big name that doesn't make the least amount of sense because a
So I,
lot of them make the least amount of sense.
there are a lot that don't make a lot of sense. Again, there's nobody I want to see. Again, the Roman Reigns, Jimmy, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn. What about Cena? Is that a possibility?
A Cena team with Roman though?
It's the only other person I that's where it's like tough because yeah, that doesn't make sense. But it's the only other person that like going against the new bloodline kind of makes sense. The new bloodline hasn't really even feuded with anybody outside of Cody and Sammy because of his involvement in the original bloodline. So you don't have any like tension between that group and another singular person. The only people that really do would be Seth, Cody, Cena a little bit. They're the three names
Owens,
that
but
come.
obviously he's not going to
Oh
be.
yeah,
Yeah.
Owens would be the other one, but obviously that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Outside of those three or four, there's nobody else to me that makes sense. I would really, really hate it to be just like somebody and then Braun Breaker or these random pairings. I would really not be a fan of that.
I think that's the direction we're heading, sadly. I would like it to be honestly, I don't want Cody. I've said it before, I've said it
Yeah,
privately, I've said it on camera, but he was probably like the most logical.
yeah.
Like, I don't want to
Well,
say I'd like it, but it would be the one that I'm like, all right, I get it.
did you see who Jay was talking to backstage when Bronson was walking through the arena?
I did not.
Yeah, right before Bronson came out, he was walking through the arena. They had that little camera on him as he was walking in the background. Jay was talking to Rey Mysterio, which is just him in the
It's
background
just,
talking to
yeah,
somebody. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That means
yeah,
nothing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, if Ray
yeah,
is the
yeah,
fifth person, that's
yeah. I
really
mean,
WWE
honestly, yeah,
Universe
yeah.
mode
He might as well have been
combination.
talking to me
Yeah,
backstage.
yeah,
Okay, yeah,
exactly. Before we wrap up here, though,
yeah.
the main event,
Mm-hmm.
women's tag title match. I think the biggest thing to gain from that is that's probably gearing towards what the women's war games match will be.
Yes. Yeah, I would imagine so. Some version of a 5v5 between whoever. I don't know who they're going to team up with who. But it's Survivor Series season. I expect it. Women's tag division again. There's a couple more established tag teams than there ever have been. So it feels like we're kind of getting somewhere, but then we kind of lose it in this mess of them just forming these random teams again. War games, really, to me, doesn't have to be 5v5 ever if it doesn't fit the bill. It could be 3v3, 4v4, 5v5. I think it's just, better marketing. I don't know. You get more people on camera doing the 5v5, whatever it may be.
The reason I brought it up, hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
Women's war games. You got Bianca and Jade, Naomi, probably Dakota, not Dakota, Kyrie and Io.
Okay.
That's probably your five
Okay.
against Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Raquel Rodriguez.
Live.
trying to piece it through.
So many.
Raquel,
Yeah.
Liv,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's a fifth that I'm forgetting.
Missing. Yeah. Shayna,
Maybe
something. Yeah, whatever.
Shayna, whatever.
Yeah.
Hear me out. During the match, Tiffany cashes in on Nia.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a
That would be
possibility.
like the most unique cash, and they're on the same team.
Yeah.
They're in a war games match, so like she can get
Mm-hmm.
extremely hurt.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
teasing would happen. Like that to me would be the like they're always trying to do something new. They're always trying
Mhm.
to create a new moment. That is like the best opportunity to do something. Oh wow, didn't see that coming type moment for the women's division.
It absolutely is. And if it doesn't happen now, that's almost destined to happen at some point. But is it going to work as well as it would work with this story? You know, like you have to be like set up for something like that to happen, and it could happen. You know, they have that potential right now. That would be a big moment. I'm not going to hate that at all. I would like that. But I still just think there's so much more potential with the pairing of Nia and Tiffany and the belt and the briefcase and the women's tag titles. We've been over this here at C2 Wrestling. We're trying to book the women's division. It's been better than ever. Don't get me wrong, by far. But
especially
there's
the
still,
NXT women's division.
especially the NXT women's division, but there's still just little areas where I feel like there's more potential. You know, again, Bianca and Jade being the tag team champions, we're getting a match between them at probably WrestleMania. That seems to fit the bill. Now, I was actually thinking about this the other day. I don't want to see the typical, like, they're still a team. They lose the belts next month. They're in the Rumble. Bianca eliminates Jade. Jade looks confused, and now they don't like each other. I don't know if I want that. You know, I would almost prefer this to have like Bianca turn on Jade similarly to when Shayna Baszler turned on Ronda. That was so no one saw it coming out of nowhere. You need something to kind of add some value to that. If you get the tag titles off of them, you put them on this pairing of Nia and Tiffany. You have another first ever type thing. Tag champions, briefcase, women's championship. Tiffany could cash in on Nia while they're tag team champions. Who knows? We have endless opportunities with particularly two women, Nia and Tiffany, in my opinion.
You know, this is probably a great conversation for the podcast, but since we're talking about it right here before we wrap up, you saying that kind of sparked my mind. I wouldn't hate if they did a little homage callback similar to what WWE did with Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero facing each other at Mania as the tag team champions still,
Yep.
and then that leading to the friction and fallout and them losing their titles and the feud. And look, we know SummerSlam is going to be huge. 2 nights. You've already got Cardi B promoting it. To me, it would be awesome if they did something similar in that aspect where the payoff is actually at SummerSlam of
Mm-hmm.
that feud. The feud really starts at WrestleMania when it's tag champ versus tag champ one on one. Who's the better half of the tag team? And who knows, maybe Bianca wins and then Jade gets, you know, jealous,
Yep.
whatever, and Jade fills the Eddie role. I'm not saying they got to do a custody part
Yeah.
of the storyline, but a little homage. Like I would get down with that. I feel like, as you were saying, there's a lot of opportunities for fresh ideas in the
Mm-hmm.
women's division. I know the United States Championship's now going to be into the mix too, but this is like, it feels like we have a clean slate with a lot of the women and a lot of the stories, that the opportunities really are endless, and it has me interested.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I again think we fall in line with Survivor Series, standard 5-on-5. You know, again, a lot of just put together teams when I was hoping we would get a little bit away from that. But it is what it is for the women right now. That is unfortunately for this War Games, not the main War Games going in. You know, that men's match holds a lot of weight this year. So I'm looking to see if that stays bloodline. I don't want them to add any random players in. But for the women, still gonna be a great match. I'm sure it opens the show. You know, we're getting a War Games either way. We got the World Heavyweight Championship match, Damian Priest versus Gunther. Probably get one match, maybe two more, perhaps. You know, that usually fills the bill for a double gimmick match like War Games. But I'm looking forward to it.
As am I. I'm also looking forward to.
C2 Wrestling. We got a lot coming at you guys. We got a lot of clips, a lot of videos, reviews, reactions. Got some secretive stuff coming up too. Who knows? Go down below, comment, like, subscribe, follow us on all the social media: Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok. This is C2 Wrestling, baby.